Hello folks. Today we are going to discuss about getting started with Postman. So let me open the file. Like today's agenda is what is Postman, Postman versions, Postman installation, how we have to install the Postman, how we have to create our account in Postman, overview of Postman interface, what is http request, what are the validations we can perform into the Postman, what after validations, when the response comes, what are the status code, and how we can run the collection. So let me explain all the topics one by one. So let's get started. And about what is Postman. And at the end of this video I will share all the required materials for that. So what is Postman? So Postman is a tool. We can say Postman is a tool which is which is used for creating, testing, and manage APIs. Manage APIs. Just explain that Postman is a tool. It's a tool in which we are using for creating, testing, and to manage APIs. Now the second is Postman versions. What are the Postman versions available? Like versions. So Postman versions is of two types. So first one, two types. Now first one is we can use via application app or web. So I will explain you in the web applications, and for this app I will also explain this in later. uh, so application you already installed, but I have to show the web versions for that. Now Postman installation. So third point is Postman installation. So let me flip to the Google Chrome, and here I will write, let's say, postman.com, just here. And here the option comes sign in. So when we, so here you can use this is my credential, I'm using this one, Prince Kumar. After this you can see that this is the Postman interface where we will getting when we sign up. So previously I have already created my account in Postman, so it is not asking for the username and password. So you need to, is the very basic procedure you need to follow. Now the first question is from where we have to start. So here Workspace. So create Workspace. Now I will explain what is Workspace and what is collections. I will explain all the things into this. So I just came here for overview of Postman, like what is the look and feel, what are the things available for this Postman. Now I am going to create the Workspace, blank Workspace. Create your Workspace, get the most out of your Workspace with a template. So I will just select Workspace, blank Workspace, and next. So I need to write the name, let's say my work space. So better you have to use the camel case notation, it will be the best practices. My workspace. And now only me, like how, who can access your workspace? Only me, only invited team members, everyone from your team. So this option is used when you are working with the team, or only invited partners and team members, anyone on the internet. When you will select this, this will be public. And when we you select everyone from your team, this will be team only. And this will be private, and this is personal. Only me is personal. So let me select anyone on the internet. So I will just create now. I have clicked on the create button. So let's see how the look and feel is coming. So here collections, environment, history is there. When there is plus button for collections creation. Now if I want to delete this workspace, how we can do that? So come to the settings below delete workspace. But it is asking for once deleted, a workspace is gone forever along with this data. But when I click over the mouse on delete workspace, it is saying public workspaces cannot be deleted. Change visibility to delete the workspace. Now I need to change the visibility. So here I have selected anyone on the internet. I need to select only me. So when we have to select only me, and then we have to update, click by the clicking on update. So it will refresh the page and asking for open workspace overview. So we need to click here. Now come to the settings again. So here access view is only me. And now you can able to delete. So delete workspace. Here you need to enter workspace name to confirm. Like whatever we have created with this name, you need to write the same. Let's say my work, WRK space, my workspace, and delete workspace button is enabled now. When we click on this, it's gone. When you will go to workspace, nothing to be loaded. And here it is saying unable to load workspace because we don't have any workspace here. Now again, how we have to create this? Click on this workspaces here. Now create workspaces. You need to click on this create workspace. Blank space is already selected by default. Now I need to click on next, and the same, let's say my workspace. Anything you can give the name for the workspace. Now only me. Again it is asking for only me, then it will be personal. Only invited team members, it will be private. Everyone from your team, it will be team. So when they, I have already explained you all the things, like in which access you want to be accessed this workspace. So anyone on the internet, let's say I am selecting anyone in the internet, and then I have to click on create button. So my workspace is created now. So when we click on this, my workspace you already there, and here my workspace you already selected. So under my workspace, collections is there, environment, history. Under this my workspace you have overview, updates, and setting. So that's all for this Postman installation and the Postman overview, and the look and feel of the Postman, and how we have to create the workspace and all. Now let me start the another topic, like what things we need to do in the Postman. So let me flip to the word, and I will explain Postman installation you already done. Postman account creation is already done. Overview of Postman interface already done. So these two are already done. So don't worry, I will share this file with full details over there. Now coming to HTTP request. What is HTTP request? So HTTP request. So HTTP request. What is HTTP request? So before this, we need to understand workspace, workspace, then collections, Under this, what we can use add folder. Under this add folder, we can add request. So this is the procedure we need to follow. First we need to create the workspace. Under workspace you need to create the collections. Under collections you need to create one folder, and under this folder you need to create one request. So I will explain in this postman only. So I have already created the workspace here. So collections, so collections we can create this collection by clicking on this plus icon. So when we hover the mouse on this, it is saying create new collection. Okay, so I have to click on this. Now blank collection, I need to click on this new collection. My collection, my collection. So click outside. So this will be created, my collection. So under this my collection, you need to click on this three dot besides my collection name. There will be three dots. Under this you need to click on add folder, because add folder we want to use, because let's say on the sometime we have to use add request or delete request or get request. So it will be better when we have to create the folder, separate folder for that. For let's say add folder, let's say here I need to write add. So it's for temporary. I will just explain you how we have to just rename this according to our requirements. So I will explain in detail later in this video only. I will explain how we can rename. I have to rename this folder matching with our request type. If it is get type, then we have to write fetch. If it is, let's say, update, then we have to write the folder name as update. I will explain you in detail. So just for now add. And under this just I want to create one folder. So this folder name is, let's say, update. And another one folder I just want to create, let's say delete. Add folder and delete. So this thing you have already got, like how we have to create the folder, and how we have to create for add, update, delete. So it always simplifies that. Okay, under this folder we need to add request for add only. Under this we need to add request for update only. Under this folder you need to write, you need to create one request for the delete request. So in this, when we want to create, let's say under this folder I just want to create add request. So I will just click on add request. And under this we have to, let's say, for add we need to write post method. So let's say url anything, www dot anything, like api testing dot com slash add. So we can change this name as well. So I will explain you later. Now coming to the topic, what we have to discuss. So already we have explained work workspace, collections, add folder, and add request. Now I'm moving towards HTTP request. What are the HTTP request? How many HTTP requests? So there are get, post, patch, get, post, put, patch, delete. So only this method name we are using in our day-to-day life. So I think when we will just get the information about this, we will be better to perform any of the method type. Any we can perform any functions on http request. So basic, if we can understand this http request, we can perform any activities on any http request method. So let me explain one by one what is the get. So let's say get, how we have to get is used for fetch data, fetch the data. So fetch the data, for example, example, let's say we want customers customers data. So for this we have to use the get method. And when we have to use the post, so I will tell you why we have to use post. Post is used for to when we want to create the customer data. Now put is for update, the customer data. Now patch is used for same, update the customer data. But there is a difference between put and patch. So when we have the requirement, let's say example, we have requirement for example, requirement for update the customer customer whole data. So in this, what are the things like name name we want to update. So name and city, state, pin code. So if there is four fields, name, city, state, pin code, and we are using the put method, we want to update all the information. So we have to use the put method. So for this we have to use put method. And if say requirement is like, if say requirement for this patch, if update the partial customer data, partial customer data, let's say requirement for partial update, partial update the customer data. So here only I want to update the state, or let's say name. Under this patch we have to update the partial customer data. For example, requirement for partial update the customer data. So for example, I we have to just update the name only, then we have to go for patch. And delete, for delete, it's always, it's for delete, it's obviously, or it's obvious that we have to delete the customer data. So let me explain one more time. What are the HTTP request? What are the HTTP request? We have get, post, put, patch, delete. So then the question comes, where we have to use get, where we have to use post, put, patch and delete. So for get request, when we have to fetch the data, let's say for example, we want all the customer data, we want all the customer data. For this we will use get method. And for this post, when we have to create the customer data, for let's say we want to create the customer data, then we will be using post method. And this put method, put for update the customer data, whole data. And for example, requirement for update the customer whole data. So there is four fields: name, city, state, pin code. So for this we have to use put method, because all the fields we need to update. That's why we are using put method. And for patch, if we want to update the partial information for the customer data, so we, let's say there is one field, only one field name, and we want to update the name of the customer, then we will be using patch method. And for delete, we have to use delete method. So this is the all HTTP method. So let me explain in the Postman, so how we will be using. So for this I will be using request response.in. So just come to this request req res.in, and here you will see that list of the API. Here the list of get methods is there: get, post, put, patch, delete. So we can, we for now we can just use this website to better understand how, like how is it's functioning, and what are the responses is coming, how we have to validate. So we will explain one by one. So let me use this get request. So here is list users. So request is so this will be our, let's say, HTTP request here. So for this I am using get request. So here I will be writing this https request.response.in. So this is the domain, this is the domain https request.response.in. So this is the domain. And after this, when we have API user something like this, so this will be, so here you can see that this is the https request.response.in. This one is the domain, and this is the endpoints. So we can say that whatever the params available before question mark, after this domain, that is called path param. And before, after question mark, whatever the params is there, that is called query param, that is called query param. So with this understanding, let's move on. So we have already seen that HTTP request. Now we are coming to the validations. So validations, let me flip to the Postman. For understanding the validation part, we have to first understand some basic request. So now I'm going to tell you about some concept. For example, how to create folder, and in this folder how we have to create our request. So add folder, and let's say this folder is for add user. And when the folder is ready, then the click on the three dots, and here add request. So this request will be the post. So I am using the post and url, and here are some of the api methods is listed. So let's say I'm using for, let's say, first one for post. So this will be the domain name, control c, and coming here, so add user, and this is of get post request. Here I will write the whole url, so putting domain name first, and with this API users. So this is the endpoint. We have to concatenate here. Make sure this should be typed correctly. And in post request, whenever you request, creating some request, then body is required for that. And in body section we have to select raw, and there is of json data is there, text format is there, javascript, html and xml. For this request dot response, only json object is required, so that's why we are selecting json object here, and copy from this JSON object and pasting here. And let's say I'm using name prince and QA engineer. So this is the request. Now send request. So it is saying 201 created, means our status code is 201 and status message is created. So whenever we are sending request with post method, so we will be getting 201, sometimes 200. It depends on the developer how they have created, but usually we are getting 201 and status message as created. So this API works fine. So let me rename this. So here, just come here and write create user. Done. Now I want fetch, because whenever we have to add, we just want to fetch the user. So for this, go to the collection, click on the three dots, add folder, and folder name should fetch user, fetch user. And clicking on this folder, besides there is three dot, and here I we need to add request. So it will be get, and what will be the url, let's say a single user. I have just clicked on single user, I just want to use this. So I have copied this request response, coming here, domain paste, and this is the endpoint. We'll see, and carefully paste it here. So in get request we don't have to pass anything, we are just sending the request. So 200 in get request, we always get 200 as status code and okay as response response message. And here we can see that id, whatever we are passing id to, so we are getting id 2. If we are passing, let's say, id 3, then we will be getting id 3. So in that we can change this as get user. In the same way, we have to create add folder for update. Let's say rename this update update user. And one more folder I'm just creating, rename this delete delete user. Under update user I want add request, so this will be update, that's why it will be put. And the request url would be request dot response dot in. Here I will write, and for put, this is the update, so what it requires, api users to. So we will go there and carefully write it here. So in put request, we want to update something. So for this, we must contains body, and for that body, we must have to send some data in the JSON form. So this is, you see that this is required to send the data. So we have to carefully copy here. Now earlier in this we were using prince, so in that put request I am using Prince Kumar. And job is QANG tester. Let's say QA tester. Now send this. So 200, okay. So for this put request, we will be always getting 200 as a status code and okay as a response status. And here are the response body for this request. Now moving to the, so we want to change this. So update user. Now delete user, again on the click on the three dots, add request. It should be delete because we want to delete. And control C, control V. Delete. This is required. And if the request we are sending with this endpoint, here in the response we are getting 204, because 200 is meant to for no content. Whenever we have to delete something, and if the content is not available, then we will be getting the 204 as a status code. So coming here, paste it here. And in params headers body, nothing is required for this delete, just send the request. We will be getting 404. So okay, here it is 404 not found, because I have done wrongly in the url, so double slash is there. Now it will be 204. 204 no content because the data is erased, the data is deleted. So delete user. In this way we can conclude, in this way we can just write all the steps and run it. So here, whenever we are sending this, let's say for put user, so this is the response body. So this is the response body, this is the status code, this is the status message, and we can also validate some headers like date, content type, uh, and also server. So transfer encoding connection, lots of thing is there. Now coming to the another topic, http status code. We know http status code. So http status code is to sometimes 200, sometimes 201 for 404. So it depends on the request, what type of request and what type of method http method is. So is the response body. Now coming to the how we have to run the collection. So for this we will go here and in this we will save all those things. So just save update. For update it's saved. Now for delete user, just here delete user, save, close this, create user, just save this, get user, save this, and we don't want in this tab. So all those things, add user it is a post type, fetch user it is a get type, or update user it is a put type, delete user it is a delete type. So creating folder, and under this we are just creating our request. It will be easier for the future use. And it, if we have written create user, then we can say that okay, this is for post request. So naming convention should be followed. It explicitly tells about its request type. So when we have to run the collection, just over the collection name, and on three dots here run collection is there. When we will run collection, here it is saying post method, get, put, delete, and all are checked. Now we want run manually, schedule runs, automatic runs via CLI. Run manually. We just want run manually. Iterations we can set one or two delays. So run my collection. It is just for beginning. So I have just created in a very simple manner. Whenever I have to deal with in more realistic API testing, then I will go into much more deeper and will explain all the things. So 201 created, 200 okay, 200 okay, 204 no content. So you can see view summary also. Iterations 1, duration it took time 1 second 89 milliseconds, environment none, resource source runner, average response time 404 milliseconds. So that's all for today, and we will again spend some more time in API testing on the another videos, and we will go into much more deeper. Thank you very much.